I'd say the other thing is, and this is not like huge insight either, but also something that I just see violated a lot, and especially online, is to really have set hours. Not necessarily that you work the same hours every day, although you could, but to not allow your time on the computer to start taking over your entire life. That I've worked with a lot of business owners who ended up working more and more in their business. And what tends to happen, the longer you work, the more inefficient you become. And nobody likes to think that they're really being inefficient, but you just make a lot of bad decisions. And, with your time, when you feel like your time is unlimited. And I've helped a lot of people make a lot more money by working less. And that sounds perplexing, but it's easier. It's a lot easier than it sounds, because I wrote about this one in my last report, the entrepreneurial emergency, like the easiest way to become a lot more productive. And it's a counterintuitive strategy, but it's one that's very effective that most people won't try because they just don't have the cojones to do it. And that is that, like, to figure out how many hours a day you're really productive. So you work 8 hours a day, how many hours are you really getting stuff done? And for most people, it's a very low number if they're going to be honest with themselves. Answering emails, doing stuff like that, that's not really productive stuff. So let's say it's like 20% of your time that, you're there for 8 hours, you get 2 hours worth of work done. Then the only way that you could ever, and let's say your goal is to be 80% effective. It's almost impossible to go from 20% effective to 80% effective, or 25% to 80%, because you don't even know how to be. Like a state of being, like you don't make decisions like that type of person. You don't operate like that person. So if you get 2 hours a day of work done and you're there for 8 hours, and you want to get to 80% effective, my suggestion is that you cut down your hours so that your 2 hours are 80% effective, so that you work 2.5 hours a day or something like that. Now, what's going to happen is this, and then I'm going to tie it back into the bigger point. But what happens is that the first day you come in and you're only working 2.5 hours, you're not even going to get 2 hours of work done, because you still think like a person who only gets 20%, is only 20 or 25% productive. So the first day you're going to get very little done, and the second day you're probably going to get very little done. And by the third day now, you're going to start feeling a little pressure, because the odds are is that the reason you worked 2 hours a day of highly productive is because that was what was necessary. And so now you're going to start making better decisions in the moment, because you know that if you keep your promise to yourself that you're only going to work 2.5 hours a day or 3 hours a day, that you've got to start making better decisions so you can get your work done. And it's when you start making those better decisions, you all of a sudden become a lot more productive. Someone asks if they can have 5 minutes of your time, and you say no, because you're really busy and you've got to get this stuff done before you call it the end of your day 2.5 hours later. It's those decisions that ultimately help you become a lot more productive. They also help you prioritize and really make sure that you're working on the highest leverage things. When you work too many hours in your business, it's too easy to not work on the highest leverage things. It's like having a to-do list with 50 things on it. It's really easy to do the least important things, but if your to-do list only has 6 items on it and the goal is to get all 6 done each day, then you spend a little bit more time on what gets on your to-do list. And so in business, especially in online business, where there's more potential than you could ever tap, there's more marketing strategies you could ever use and learn, there's more, there's more of everything than you could possibly ever master. There has to be a really firm commitment to prioritization. And if you don't have that, you will often struggle. So one of the reasons why I'm so successful at helping people work a lot less and make a lot more is because it forces prioritization, and it forces people to work on what is absolutely most important. And when you work on what's absolutely most important, you can work a lot less. And so that, I think, especially for people who are online, that's something to just be cognizant of, that you always want to make sure that you don't let the online environment take over your life, because I've just seen it so many times. It happened to me when I was first starting out too. And I think that that's a big, that's heading for, you end up getting worse at what you do and you end up working longer hours. So I would say that that was a huge takeaway. There was one other, and I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. What was the other one I wanted to say?